Good day. My name is Obande Steffi Ire, a virtual intern at HARLEM Solicitors. Today I'll be talking on the regulatory framework and environmental standards for telecommunication in Nigeria. The telecommunications sector consists of companies that make communication possible on a global scale, be it via the phone or internet, airwaves or cables, wires or wirelessly. It allows data to be sent to anywhere across the world in words, voice, audios, and videos. In a simple parlance, telecommunication is the exchange of information over significant distances by electronic means. Now, it has continuously been proven that what distinguishes humans from animals are laws and regulation. Therefore, it will be safe to say that without laws and regulation and authorities put in place to implement these regulations, the society would be as Thomas Hobbes famously described it: nasty, brutish, and short. The principal legislation for telecommunication in Nigeria is the Nigerian Communications Act of 2003, hereinafter referred to the NCA 2003, which was assented to by the former President Olusegun Obasanjo on the 8th of July 2003. The NCA 2003 has provided for a sub-legislation known as the Nigerian Communications Commission, hereinafter referred to as the NCC, as the regulatory body responsible for the enforcement of the NCA 2003. The powers, functions, structure, and governance of the NCC are provided for under sections 3 to 22 of the NCA 2003 to include, amongst others, the issuance of licenses to telecommunications operators and also arbitrating between carriers, operators, and consumers. Section 70 of the NCA 2003 empowers the NCC to make regulations and guidelines, to which the NCC has made 14 regulations and 18 guidelines respectively. Another regulatory body that governs telecommunication matters in Nigeria is the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, hereinafter referred to as the NESRA 2007. The federal government established the NESRA as a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of Environment, Housing and Urban Development. The act establishing the NESRA is known as the NESRA Establishment Act, which replaced the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, FEPA, and is brought in accordance with Section 20 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, which controls the safeguarding and protection of our Nigerian environment. In order to promote effective enforcement of the national environmental standards, laws, and policies, the NESRA, under the auspices of Section 34, has empowered the Minister of Environment to make laws and regulations to see to the effectiveness of the NESRA Act. The agency has its powers on the protection of the environment, biodiversity, and the preservation of Nigeria's natural resources in general. Now, note that the oil and gas sector does not fall within the ambit of the regulations and operation of the NESRA. Like I said earlier, laws are needed for the proper functioning of our environment. The NCC and NESRA are therefore the two legislative bodies governing telecommunication matters in Nigeria. The NCC has provided for the 2009 guidelines on technical specifications for the installation of telecommunication masts and towers, hereinafter referred to as the 2009 guideline, whereas the NESRA has provided for the National Environmental Standards for Telecommunication, Broadcast and Facilities Regulation 2011, hereinafter referred to as the 2011 regulation. A quick perusal into the 2009 guidelines will make you see that the 2009 guidelines has provided for regulatory stipulations on the technical design structure for the installation or erection of telecommunication masts and towers in Nigeria. It takes into cognizance the types as well as the structure of a tower and also the collocation and the sharing formula. In the same vein, the 2011 regulations has provided for regulatory stipulations to which telecommunication service providers are to adhere to while installing telecommunications infrastructure. The 2009 guidelines has permitted the installation of masts not exceeding 25 meters in height within residential areas, as provided for under sections 3 sub 4 of the 2009 guidelines. However, where a mast to be installed in a residential area is to exceed 25 meters in height, permission is to be sought from the NCC, and there's a minimum setback of 5 meters. And this is provided for under section 3 sub 5 of the 2009 guidelines. Now, how do you measure this setback? You measure the 5-meter setback from the nearest foot of the tower to the demised premises, excluding the fence. Why is there a setback? There's a 5-meter setback so as to mitigate the effect of heat, noise, and the vibration that comes out of the diesel power generators installed within the base transceiver station, hereinafter referred to as the BTS or base stations. With regards to airports and helicopter pads, the 2009 guidelines under Section 7 Sub 1 Paragraph A Sub Paragraph 7 has provided or forbidden the installation of telecommunication masts and towers, irrespective of its height, within 15 kilometers to any airport or within any helicopter pads or its approaches, except prior approval from the Nigerian Management Airspace Agency is being taken. For commercial and industrial areas, the 2009 guideline has permitted the installation of telecommunication masts and towers not exceeding 150 meters in height, as provided under Section 9 Sub 1 Paragraph A. However, Section 9 Sub 1 Paragraph B have allowed for an exceeding height number of 150 meters, wherein the NCC believes that certain conditions would have been fulfilled. These conditions are that it believes that it will not be detrimental to human health and public safety, that it will not have any negative impact on the neighborhood, that it must be in conformity with the general plan of that society and that area, and it does not impair the observation of any further guideline or any applicable law. Where such permission is being given as regards the height of 150 meters for installation of telecommunication mast, the minimum setback will be 50 meters as provided for under Sections 9 Sub 9 Paragraph B of the 2009 guidelines. Now note that non-compliance with the 2009 guideline is deemed an infraction on the NCA 2003, the Nigerian Communications Regulation of 2019, every other applicable law, and also the NCC has the power to remove such a mast, and the telecommunications operator would have to bear the burden of the loss. Furthermore, the 2009 guideline provides that where a proposed mast is to be built in excess of 30 meters, the telecommunications service provider must obtain a certificate of clearance from the NAMA. Section 9 Sub 13 of the 2009 guidelines provide for a tower-to-tower spacing. It applies that there should be at least a spacing of 1 kilometer from 2 or more towers in excess of 55 meters. Section 9 Sub 14 of the 2009 guidelines discourages the building or erection of a BTS directly under a high-tension wire. And I must add that this provision of the 2009 guideline allows for the factors to be considered while negotiating the buying of a land for the installation of telecommunication masts. With regards to the 2011 regulations, the main thrust of the 2011 regulations is on the preservation of the environment and laws that implement environmental sanitation. Section 3 Sub 2 Paragraphs A to G talks on the main objectives of the 2011 regulations. Also, Section 5 Sub 3 Paragraphs A to G provides for the statutory requirements for siting of our installation of telecommunication masts and towers. Note that this section is without prejudice to the proposed section of the 2009 guideline. Now note that where the NCC has provided for a setback of 5 meters, the NESRA under the auspices of the 2011 regulation has provided for a setback of 10 meters. Looking at the two laws, you will notice a discrepancy between them. Now, the issue of the discrepancy was brought out in the FAB Estate saga, and it was resolved therein. A gazette was released and the resolution was contained therein, and the applicable setback that was contained in was the setback of 7.5 meters, which is to be applicable. But note that the 7.5 meters does not apply to the installation of a mast of height of 150 meters above. In Nigeria, due to the electricity instability, resort has been made to diesel fuel power generators. The 2011 regulation permits the use of only soundproof generators in conformity with the permissible noise levels as provided for under Section 9 Sub 3 Paragraph A. With regards to the abandonment of telecommunication towers in Nigeria, both the NCC and the NESRA cover these provisions. Now, where the NCC see that certain towers or telecommunication masts have been abandoned, it will seek to obtain documents that state the date of the abandonment and then give a 90 days ultimatum for the reuse of such telecommunication towers, after which certain actions will be taken. Note that the NCC does not prosecute, neither does it handle sanction matters. The monitoring and enforcement unit of the NCC handles sanction matters while the court prosecutes. Thank you very much for today, and I want to believe you've learned a thing or two from the lecture. Connect with us on our different social media platforms and visit our website to learn more on the laws governing telecommunications in Nigeria. Thank you.